Greetings YouTube! I went to see Black Panther yesterday. It was very late on and I had to get up early in the morning for work, so apologies if I come across as a bit low energy. Also, I had to go see the 3D version because the cinema wouldn't let me see a 2D version, so thanks for that. Technically this is a no spoiler review, but there's not really any plot points in this film to spoil. I could see things coming and predict them about 10-15 minutes ahead of time. But while the story is predictable, it's still enjoyable. The visuals in the film start off a little bit dry and grab, and that's because you're in the Western world. As soon as you get to Wakanda, colour fills the screen. There's a massive array of colour palettes. There's blacks, there's purples, there's blues, there's golds, there's all sorts of colour in here. I like the design of the sets and the costumes and the visual effects as well. I'll get to those in a minute. But the sets and costumes have bright colours, they leap off the screen. It does look like a comic book film, does this. And the eccentric designs help lend itself well to making Wakanda feel totally unique. It's like the lab has that weird spiral ramp that goes up the middle. I still have no idea why, just because I guess. The underground caverns, the corridors, the city as well up on the surface, it all has its own unique look. And because it's a comic book film, you've got to of course have those over the top action scenes. Except that the action scenes in this film are toned down, at least when you compare it to other Marvel films. They're a lot smaller scale, and that's because this film has a more, well, intimate feel. And I can't help but feel as though this film's action sequences would have looked a lot better if it wasn't for the 3D. I don't know why, it has the same effect as a video game dropping frames. And you feel like you're missing part of the images, and it's not so much a problem when it's massive, slow sweeping camera shots of these impressive vistas and these landscapes showing off Wakanda itself. It's great, but as soon as you hit a fast moving action scene, you feel like you can't keep up with everything, especially the first action scene, because it's in the dark and there's bright flashes of gunfire. You can hardly tell what's going on, and I can't help but feel as though that kind of separated me from what was going on in the film a bit, and that was the 3D effect. I'm sure the action sequences look fine in 2D, but I went to see this in 3D, so they look crap. I also like the Wakandan technology. You know how futuristic technology nowadays seems to be all transparent holograms and glass, or at least transparent plastic? In Wakanda, they've actually, in this film at least, they've found a way of creating, yes, holograms, but they sort of do it in a unique way. And there are these, I don't know how to describe them, but they're these black particles which sort of ball up and they can form shapes. It's kind of hard to describe. You know, if you want a chair, these things form a chair. It's brilliant, and I haven't seen it in films recently. As I say, most films tend to be obsessed with this hologram stuff, and this film did something different, and I like that. I noticed this in the trailer. The trailer had this traditional African vibe blended with this high technology that Wakanda has in advance of anywhere else, and it did a very good job of blending them together and showing it off in the trailer, and so does the film. It has these two things side by side. For example, the warriors have traditional looking armour but made from modern materials, you know, the vibranium, and the weapons as well. They use spears, but they're these pulse weapons built into the tips of them. It's not just the environment, it's the way that their society functions, the way they live and fight and do things. Traditional and high tech. I love the blend. And you know how the trailer had modern rap music playing over it? That doesn't really happen in the film, or not to my memory at least. Instead, it's got a lot of traditional African music playing, or what I assume is traditional African music. It sounds like it anyway. That's the vibe I get off of it. What do I know? But it's also got some techno beats playing over it as well in places. Again, mixing traditional with high tech. The characters in this film, they are excellent. The actors play them brilliantly and they're portrayed brilliantly. The film, as I said before, has a smaller, more intimate feel. The action sequences are toned down, and I think that's so they could get this more of a focus on the characters and the story. And so despite the fact that, as I said, the action sequences are kind of ruined by the 3D, it doesn't affect the film overall too much, because that's not where the emphasis of the film is. It's on the story, the characters. It's on this idea of family and how everybody interacts within this environment of Wakanda. There are jokes, but they're well placed and well used, and it's not very frequent. It's not like Thor Ragnarok, where the whole film is dripping in humour. This isn't it. It's a much more serious tone to the film, but it has that Marvel levity that we've come to expect. That line wasn't in the film. I was a bit disappointed. I was looking forward to hearing that. And like the rest of the film, the final fight is toned down, and it does do that thing that I kind of were hoping they weren't going to do, but I knew they were going to do it. You know, Black Panther versus Killmonger, and they're both basically wearing Black Panther suits. The film did its best to set up this bad guy, and it only had one film to do it. I feel like this is why Marvel isn't doing particularly well with its bad guys. Marvel did their best. You can feel them trying to set the bad guy up to make it feel a very intimate affair, a family-based affair. It did its best to set the bad guy up, to make you feel for him, and to make you understand why he's doing this. It did its best. But I feel like Marvel's best villain is still Loki, and he had several films to develop. And until Marvel starts doing that, I don't think they'll get a villain that's equal to Loki in terms of how much he's liked and how much we all look forward to seeing him again. I suspect I might get a bit of flack for saying this, but Black Panther 3D gets a 7 out of 10. It's a good film, it is, but I do feel like the 3D was throwing off the fight scenes. It was, especially seeing as how the film did everything it could to try to make you feel for what was going on, to create that intimate feeling, to understand what the family is going through, and to make you feel for the bad guy as well. And with all that, the 3D just kept on breaking the immersion for me in the fight scenes. So at the same time, the film was trying to bring me closer to it and trying to make me separate from it, if that makes any sense. The story was bringing me towards it, but the 3D was pushing me away in the fight scenes, and that was just weird. But this is still a good film. And you know what? I look forward to when Black Panther comes out on Blu-ray, and I can actually watch the 2D version, and I can find out whether it is actually any good when I can see the fight scenes properly. So that's Marvel's Black Panther 3D. 7 out of 10. Good film. If you're a fan of Marvel films, I still recommend you go out and see this. Just do not go out and watch it in 3D. Don't. It interferes with the fight scenes, and you'll be, especially in that first fight sequence, you'll be left thinking what the hell is going on. Don't see it in 3D. So what did you think of my video? Leave a like or dislike. What did you think of the film? Or haven't you seen it yet? Are you going to see it, or can't you be asked? Leave a comment down below. And just in case you ever get lost to this channel in the future, you can always click on the subscribe button. See you next time.